Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell from the title of this video, things have not gone that well this morning. Don't worry, it's not this boat, but the Sea Lark snapped her mooring chain at the block and just drug it out. Luckily, she bumped into a reef on the way out to Vancouver, and she ran herself ashore. So I tried to get her off the reef, but I was about 15 minutes late, and so she sat and careened over on the rocks. I had laid down an anchor to get her in the right position, and we just gotta wait for high tide now. Hopefully no serious damage has been done, but we'll give her a solid inspection. Now, for a lot of sailors, snapping your mooring line and going adrift is up there on, one of their greatest nightmares. But I'm trying to see a silver lining in the situation. I'm learning some lessons, some real lessons today. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. Captain Will and Captain Mike both offered me the same mooring, which both of them claimed ownership over, which probably should have raised some flags that maybe nobody actually knew what was going on with that mooring. And also, moorings in general, unless you put it down or you dive on it, you probably shouldn't trust it all that much, because there's a lot of pirate moorings. Pirate moorings especially, because that's what these are. Most of these are all pirate moorings, and that just means somebody has taken it upon themselves to put a mooring where it was previously an anchorage. And no one's kicked them out. So it's a pirate moorage. As you can see, I am kind of lucky because she hit the last little bit of rock here before the main channel, and as you'll recall, that channel has up to 6 knots of current in it, and since the current was going out, it would have washed it down that way over to Victoria, and would have been considerably harder to retrieve it. So yay, silver linings. We're all about silver linings today. Just gonna keep that positive attitude and we can get anything accomplished. Stay positive, champ. Thank you. All right, well, we've had some bad news on the boat so far. Let's see if Vern's got any good news for us.
Hello.
Hey.
His water's empty. His water tank's empty.
So good news is I ordered 10 more of those lights that I got already. And finally, for safety's sake, I've got this VHF. I wanted to get like a little
handheld.
Yeah, a little kit basically of everything I needed to sail legally in a backpack. So I've got a little VHF, I've got little life preserver, I've got a few other basics. All, just that's the last piece I needed. So now I can legally sail.
It's in Spanish though, so you won't be able to understand them.
I can. It's not. Vern, get your eyes checked.
See, 250 knot wind.
Early Tuesday morning, then increasing to westerly 20 to 30 Tuesday afternoon.
So this little radio here is the cheapest one they sell on Amazon. The reviews state that this is, although it says, as you can see, waterproof, that's not true. It's horrendously unwaterproof, and apparently people destroy them all the time because of that. So I'll have to be very, very careful with this thing. But at least this will allow me to safely travel on that little Cal 20, hoping I didn't just punch a hole in it today. So we'll get it off the rock later today, and we'll find out whether or not I can actually sail that thing, or whether we'll spend the rest of the day bailing her out before we drag her ashore. I think it'll be alright. I hope it'll be alright.
Big winds, so it should just be sitting
No,
in the
it should
window.
just be sitting there. Should just be sitting there. Alright, we got the dinghy fully loaded, and she's sinking quick, as usual. Got expensive electronics, a dog, an outboard motor, a trolling motor, the Kodiak,
and an Englishman.
An Englishman. And now we gotta make it over to the boat. And the tide is just starting to hit the keel, so it's about time we do something about it.
Get her back, go get her back, go get her back, oh yeah. Get her back, go get her back, go get her back, oh yeah. Get her back, go get her back, go get her back, oh yeah. Get her back, go get her back, go get her back, oh yeah. Let me tell you about a girl I once knew she was sweet to sing, then she left me blue. I was in love, then I thought she was too. The wrong was all over again. 12 o'clock.
All right, we tried our hardest to get the outboard onto the actual boat. With limited success. I couldn't lift it onto the bracket. What you don't see is that right where the transom is, there's another 4-foot drop in the water. So when I'm standing, I'm lifting way above my head. I can't get it. So we've got it locked down, sorta. I'm gonna put another rope on it in a second here. And she's starting to float. So Champ's aboard, the electronics are tidied away. She's not leaking yet. So I'm gonna do an inspection in a bit. And we're off, ladies and gentlemen. This boat is now free of the reef. They made it. Can't find any leaks down below so far. We're gonna take it round the bend and try to get ourselves back into safe harbor.
Sitting on the bus, my heart began to rush. Thinking about her made me smile. I know one day she's gonna be my baby. That'll be the day for me. Get her back, I'm gonna get her back, I'm gonna get her back, oh yeah. Get her back, I'm gonna get her back, I'm gonna get her back, oh yeah.
We made it. We made it, Champ. Woo! We made it. All right, so now I'm gonna go set up an anchor properly. I finally got some chain, and I got a couple swivels, and I got some line, and we're gonna anchor the boat right after dinner. You'll have to forgive us, ladies and gentlemen. I spent all day fussing around with the water maker. Luke's been doing great work. We got all this foam done, laying all the battens in for the decking on the roof there is going to be done soon. So we're getting a lot of stuff done. I just didn't film most of it today because I'm a little preoccupied with this whole boat thing. It just had me on anxiety overload. So we're having a little comfort meal of ramen made with hot dogs, because you got to poach an egg into your ramen. That's very important. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a pack of instant noodles and some fucking hot dogs and an egg.
Avocado on there, so it's
Oh yeah. Now you might be saying to yourself, this guy's crazy. He ran his damn boat aground. He hasn't even sailed anywhere. This guy's the one who wants to go around and sail around the world. Can't even keep a damn sailboat on the mooring. And you're not wrong. I am crazy, no doubt about it. But let's look at some of the highlights of today. The silver linings, as it were. First of all, they say education is a very valuable resource, and I have learned a few things today. I've learned not to trust a mooring I didn't put in myself. I learned a lot about rescuing a boat. I learned that although an outboard and a gas tank are great, a Kodiak and a thrusting trolling motor are 100% better because they're so much lighter. We couldn't even get the outboard on that bracket back there before we left. So it was all of the trolling motor that got us off, and I'm really glad for it. I've also decided to put a 20-pound Danford on this thing. So we got 20 pounds of Danford goodness. We've got a nice big swivel joint here. And then we got a bucket full of chain. Now this is chain that I've actually looked at and surveyed, unlike that paper thin stuff that we were using for that mooring, which fell apart as paper does. Got that stuff here. So this is actually two separate chains. We got this stuff. We got about 20 feet of this, and this is plenty strong enough for our application. However, on the end we have an additional 5 feet of some super heavy chain. Now you'd think logically that we put the super heavy chain by the actual anchor, and then it works better that way, but you'd be wrong, because if you put it on the other end, what happens is it holds the whole chain down instead of just the last couple feet. So that's what we're gonna do. We Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually afternoon. I spent all morning. What did we do? We went and got showers, broke some stuff. We nearly crashed the Sea Lark earlier. That was fun. And then we found out that the outboard doesn't work at all because, pro tip, if you lay your outboard down over the carb, the PCV valve drips oil into the carb and gunks everything up. So I spent the morning disassembling the carburetor and air filters, replaced and cleaned everything in there, and she's running great now. And I want to do this trip over to Vancouver in a couple days, so we're going to take it out for a little test run. We got a little bit of wind, got a working motor, couple of buds, and this is Luke's last day, so we're gonna have some fun. Move it. Go on. Go.
They're pretty full.
They're pretty full. You go.
Road trip!
Okay, so we made it out here, and it's a good thing we did this trial run. I've learned that with the power of that outboard going, the well that I cleared out here just squirts water into the cockpit like crazy. So I'm gonna have to fashion up some sort of stopper to shove down there and keep the water from welling up. It's not a big deal because the cockpit is like a wet cockpit, right? It's supposed to drain back out. It's just a little uncomfortable, and I'm sure it doesn't help my speed any. So we'll be doing that, and then the rest of it, like I've been testing out my Navionics because I finally have Navionics. I also have OpenCPN, and I was trying OpenCPN. I think later on down the road when the boat is a bit more complete and we've got all those systems going, OpenCPN will be much nicer to use because it's much more open source than Navionics is. It allows you to incorporate a lot more stuff, which I'm all into, but for now we're just dealing with Navionics because it's like a buy once, ready to go, and off you go kind of situation. So we're gonna make our way over to Corsi, and when you know it, really windy earlier today when we nearly crashed the KL250 into our own boat again, but as soon as we get out here in the channel, not a lick of wind. Classic BC summertime. It's too windy for epoxy and fiberglass. It's not windy enough to sail. Alright, well, we'll get there. Alright, so we anchored here at the Corsi. We're going to do a little hiking trail business, and check this out. It's the first stern tie-off we've managed. It's not bad, eh? Not bad for our first run of it. I like it. Now again, of course, like, you guys weren't there for that, but I did do a whole sailing thing with Vern a while back and then deleted all the footage. Sorry about that. But we did an overnighter in the KL250. Well, I did. Vern was in his boat, and we stern tied to one another and put our anchors out. It was nice. So it's not my first time doing a stern tie off, but first time doing it on my own. Well, no, I had to. Yeah, Luke was great. He worked the anchor, and I was out in my rowboat putting out the stern tie. There's probably a more efficient way of doing that, though. Water boy. Water boy. Yeah, we found the treasure. So this is Pirate's Cove. It even comes complete with pirate treasure. It's full of toys and goodies. Man, what a score.
I mean, am I the only one who finds that kind of creepy?
Why is it creepy?
I feel like it's toys. Where are the kids?
Hadn't thought of that.
Bye.
Excuse me. Stick's too big, Jam. It's too. Watch your step. Jesus, Jam, slow down. You're gonna hurt yourself. People think I'm abusive. You're just masochistic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've made it back out here to the boat. We had a little bit of a motor on the way back. It's been kind of calm conditions, but that's good news for me because we're looking at about 5 to 15 knots of wind, breeze, I should say, for my transit over on Thursday. So I'm excited to test out some features here, and I will get more gas for the outboard, and I'll also build a little foam block to insert that little engine well, because it is super annoying for when you want to sail or when you're motoring with a bracket on the back like I do. But in the meantime, I want to introduce you to a new friend of ours, a new member of the crew. His name is Mr. Moist. He's our water maker. No, it's not. All right, this is our little guy, the water maker. This is what I've been doing. So a lot of the work I do here on the boat is like just little fussy little things, and yeah, it doesn't often look like there's a direction, but if you might not have noticed, it's a big project. It's hard to wrap your freaking head around it. So I'm often a little overwhelmed, but I've written the list. I am working my way through the list. Lots of little nickel and dime things. So this is Quality Water Works. Company no longer exists. They're from originally North Carolina, Pfafftown. That's Pfafftown. Way too many F's in there. So already not feeling very confident. The other problem, well, among many problems, because I've had several little issues throughout, the water comes in, goes through a T-junction, half the T goes over to the toilet. The other half goes through a strainer, and then it goes to the brass pump for salt water, and then through the brass pump it gets pumped through these two filters down here. So it goes boom here, and then around into this big X junction. Now, when I want the water maker on, they got through here and through to here, okay? So that goes off to the high pressure system. Now, to make water, drinkable water, out of salt water, you need at least 600 PSI. This thing ranges basically between 600 and 900, and depending on the conditions where you are, if you're in brackish water or salt water. So what this does, pumps it into a high pressure vessel, or a high pressure hose, which goes over here to the high pressure vessel. Now, unfortunately, this is the problem I've had just recently. The high pressure vessel here has these seals, 3 separate seals. They're not big enough for the application. They rattle around in their placement a little bit, and as the pressure builds anything over 100 psi, it leaks like a sieve. So brand new out of the box, leaks like a sieve. Sorry to Quality Waterworks, but I think I understand why you guys went out of business. That being said, once I fix the seals, working on that still, it goes out of here. Now we got a pressure control valve right here, and you adjust that, and that it gets your brine off wash and out into the ocean again. So that's the salt water. And by controlling that pressure, you essentially control how much water is being forced through the membrane here. Now you might think the more water you force through, the better. No, that's not the case. These are delicate kinds of weird filters. It's not like your regular just push through a filter. It's this weird wash by filter. It's very bizarre, and you got to keep the pressure just so. So it goes out of there over to this T-junction. This T-junction with this meter tells us how many gallons per hour. You want to get up to 4 gallons per hour, that's important. And then you pick the direction. So over here to our blue hose is just our tester, and that runs up to the sink over here and lets us just flush the system, just test it for a while, make sure everything's fine before we switch it over to the other direction, and that goes into our water tank. Extra features of this system is in this big X junction, I also have a salt water out. So what I've done is I'm using the brass pump to go through this outlet, and then this outlet gets pumped to anything I want to pump salt water to, and I can use the same brass pump down below, which is kind of nice. It's on a manual toggle switch. I think eventually I'll put that on a pressurized switch so that it can automatically engage the second that there is a lack of pressure, because you say open to tap or something, right? Okay, still with me? All right, great. Now, down here, that's a freshwater inlet. So this actually runs to my freshwater pump. This is this little tiny 12-volt pump, and that pumps it up through the system. So this allows me to back flush the membranes up here. It doesn't allow me to back flush these. It doesn't allow me to back flush the strainer down below, but I can back flush the high pressure, which is the most important one. So that's cool. But side effect of that, number 2, is all my saltwater taps, I can temporarily just flick this switch over to pass through and then flick these all off, and I can pump fresh water through all my saltwater taps. So, you know, every once in a while I can just pump fresh water out there. So say if I had to fill a bunch of buckets up on the deck or something like that, and I could just flick that switch, and then suddenly, instead of saltwater rinsing, we can fill a bunch of buckets with fresh water. So say if we wanted to help a friend out who doesn't have a water maker, we could pump their boat full of fresh water. Anyway, I like the system. It runs all on 12 volt. It is very low draw, and it allows me to run it essentially all day long if I want to. On my electrical system especially, it's no hassle at all. And honestly, I could have gone with a much bigger system, but I like the idea of having a small system, a small water tank, and you know, having some backups as well is going to be important down the road. But for now, just keeping it light and small and easy. Well, moderately easy. I'm already replacing freaking gaskets, so can't be that easy. You know, I forget to even get a video of them.
Jab, 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 jab.
Champ, what do you think of your new theme song?
It's marshmallow time.
Sorry, is that your arm? You don't need that, do you? Champ, you're so thoughtful. Give him a toot, too, eh? Look, you're there. Sit right down on you. Champ! Why are you the way that you are? I love it, but why?
Seat legs.
Come on, buddy. Come on.
Marshmallows.
So it being Luke's final night here, we decided to have ourselves a last little campfire, a couple of marshmallows, beautiful sunset, and that's it. Just that. It's been awesome having him out, and yeah, I look forward to sailing with you, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I look forward to every morning I wake up and he's just like, "Hi, Simon."
Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, Simon. He's too happy.